Greetings everyone and a very warm welcome to this news hour with the news. I'm Shfarao Lakaw. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has deployed a monitoring mission to Kaliti Correctional Facility and the Kilinto prison to monitor the situation of defendants Jawar Mohammed et al-Kays, who have remained on hunger strike since January 27. During the commissioner's visit to Kaliti on February 2, 2021, Jawar Mohammed, Bakala Garba, Hamza Borona, and Shamseddin Taha had been on hunger strike. The prisoners informed the Commission that the purpose is to protest the violation of rights of people and their party, to ask to stop harassment and ill treatment of Colonel Gamachu Ayana. The Kaliti Correctional Facility, for its part, told the Commission that most reasons mentioned by defendants for their hunger strike are beyond its control, adding all of the defendants are receiving medical treatment. Similarly, a Commission's visit to Colonel Gamachu Ayana and Tselahun Yemi revealed that their conditions are good, unlike what was widely circulated of their danger via social media. Minister of Peace Muferiat Kamil held talks with Special Envoy of United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, Parfait Onania Anyanya. The minister briefed the envoy on the ongoing efforts in the process of the reform to enhance cohesion and national consensus to enrich nations' values that have existed for centuries. The special envoy, to his part, appreciated the endeavors being undertaken by the government to ensure sustainable peace and keep momentum of positive change in several areas of engagement. The two also discussed post-law enforcement activities underway in Tigray region, including rehabilitation and rebuilding endeavors. Now, Ethiopia and Russia expressed enthusiasm to elevate their bilateral relationship to a higher level. Deputy Secretary of the General Council of United Russia Party, Andrei Klimov, who has visited Ethiopia, described Ethiopia's reform as being successful. Top on the agenda of his visit, Russian United Party and the ruling Prosperity Party PP of Ethiopia signed a memorandum of understanding that enables them to work together on various issues. Daniel Kasan reports.
It was a successful visit.
Establishing the inter-party relations of the Russian United Party and the ruling Prosperity Party of Ethiopia, as well as with the African Union, was among the major mission of Deputy Secretary of the General Council of the United Russian Party, Andrei Klimov, indicated he had fruitful deliberations with officials from the Ethiopian government to make tangible steps in the relationship between the two countries. The Memorandum of Understanding signed takes into account the long-standing friendship between Ethiopia and Russia and focuses on issues that need to be addressed at party level together.
Well, the main item in my schedule to discuss and to do here in Addis was, of course, establishing a strong relationship with the ruling party of Ethiopia, with Prosperity Party. To be honest, we already had some talks by internet. But internet is, of course, it's a good thing, but better when you can shake hands, when you can look at each other, you can have some things to do together. And here in Addis, we already signed very important paper. This is the agreement of cooperation between the United Russian, our ruling party, and Prosperity Party of Ethiopia.
He further revealed Russia's ambition to strengthen its ties with the whole of the African continent. The agreement would help the United Russia Party's future relationship with other pertinent African countries.
And one of these things, maybe a starting point based on this agreement, which is already done, shall be in March, when, with the help of Ethiopian colleagues, we will arrange a big international internet inter-party conference, Russia and Africa, coming back to the traditions of our cooperation. And Ethiopia, and especially Addis, it is a very important place for that, because it's also capital not only of Ethiopia, but the capital of Africa, the capital of the African Union. And it is exactly at the meat of African continent.
He also said a few comments about the reforming government of Ethiopia.
And the only thing I'd like to stress, we now have good framework to have this cooperation between the ruling party, between governmental institutions, between our societies. But again and again, we have to recognize the right of people to have their own government, to elect their MPs, and to go ahead, because you are a sovereign state, we are a sovereign state, we have to respect that thing.
The Deputy Secretary revealed that United Russia Party is preparing a conference for prominent African political parties.
Now, the Office of the Permanent Representative of Ethiopia to the AU announced that the 34th AU Ordinary Summit will be held as of February 6th and 7th virtually, noting that the 38th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council held on Wednesday. Ambassador Tesfaye Yilmaz said the meeting was held under the theme of Arts, Culture and Heritage, Levers for Building the Africa We Want. The 34th Ordinary Session will deliberate on the agenda of fighting COVID-19, election of senior leadership of the African Union Commission and chair of the African Union as their term office end by this year. The current AU Commissioner, Musa Faki Mahamat, is running again for the election, the ambassador disclosed.
The most important thing is the election. Election of the senior leadership of the African Union Commission here. And of course, we will have a new chair of the African Union as well. There will be shift of chairship from South Africa to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And in the meantime, the College of Commissioners at the African Union, their term has come to an end, and therefore a new leadership group will be elected. That's a very important task. The leadership comprises of the chairperson of the commission. Currently, that's His Excellency Dr. Musa Faki Mahamat. He's originally from Chad. The deputy chairperson of the commission is His Excellency Mr. Kwesi Kwarte. He is originally from Ghana, West Africa. Mr. Kwesi Kwarte is not running as a deputy chair. He is not running again. So a new deputy chairperson will be elected. His Excellency Dr. Musa Faki Mahamat is running again for the for the position of chairperson of the African Union Commission. Currently, he is the only candidate, and the election is going to be conducted electronically.
Ambassador Yilmaz also said that Ethiopia represented its candidate, Professor Hirut Woldemariam, for the AU Commissioner of Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. Take a listen.
We have a candidate for a position of Commissioner for Education, Science, Technology and Innovation. And this candidate of Ethiopia is a very able, qualified, competent candidate who has passed through this screening process with flying colors, with the best grade. So unless the mechanics of the deputy chairperson election comes in the way, in terms of competition, in terms of competence, she has the best chance to be voted in as a commissioner for education, science, technology and innovation. Yeah, as you know, she has the best experience, a lot of experience in academia. She has been a professor, a full professor She was the vice president of Addis Ababa University. She was Minister of Higher Education, Science and Higher Education. She was Minister of Culture. If they succeed, the whole of Eastern Africa region will not have candidates for commissioner position. If the DCP, the deputy chairperson, is elected from the West will not have a chance for a commissioner position.
Now, moving on, historians approached by ETV call upon African nations, including Ethiopia, to prioritize indigenous knowledge as opposed to adopting Western concepts. The historians Tamaskan Burka and Ayela Bakri further warned these nations regarding the dangers of imitating foreigners' makeup. According to the scholars, the current generation ought to fight cultural colonization and the erroneous narratives towards the Africans. Kazam Chani reports.
As per the scholars, the prowling of African natural resources has been studied. However, the looting of African knowledge didn't yet get much attention as needed. Agenda 2063 is deemed a recent remedy where culture and heritage get prioritized and related to this. Tamaskan Burka, Assistant Professor of Archaeology and Heritage Management at the Addis Ababa University, on his part stated that as indigenous knowledge at a unique knowledge confined to a particular culture or society, it should be the right move to reintroduce history at different levels of the educational system.
What we can do, culture matters, identity matters. Africans should also teach their new generation what happened before colonialism. We call it in a prehistory. Europeans say we have begun history in Africa, but what we say is what was before colonialists came to Africa, what type of culture was in Africa or in different parts of Africa. So they had to teach their generations, the new generation, or craft a curriculum and instruct them in schools and in formal ways, because they have to make at least separate themselves and show their identity of their forefathers and before us. That's what they have to do, I think.
Another historian, Ayela Bakri, suggested African nations to include indigenous knowledge in their curriculum systems than imitating Western structure, adding up colonizers not only took away precious resources but also culture and heritage of Africa.
When we talk about colonialism, we're not talking about just stripping resources. We're talking about also cultural colonialism. As you pointed out, colonization means appropriation, expropriation, taking away your heritage. And then, keep it in British Museum or Paris Museum or any one of those European museums out of context, because those cultural artifacts, like the ones that you mentioned, for instance, manuscripts, would have relevance only in the context of Ethiopian culture, Ethiopian history, Ethiopian religion. And then when you take it out of context, then it becomes what? A merchandise to buy and sell.
When you are colonized, what colonists did was, for example, if you go to Western Africa, they have changed, for example, their monetary value. Former French colonies are using what is known as franc. That franc is a devalued franc. It's not a French franc, actually. So they have been, totally, their culture was totally eroded because it was disregarded. It was taught in the schools and in front as backward, as savage, as barbarian. And so because that type of inculcation by the colonists, which has eroded their indigenous culture, they were forced to behave. What happened in what the French colonists, with these assimilados or the assimilators, think was Africans should behave like French, dress like the French, drink wine like the French, and they have to speak French like the French, sometimes even more than the French. Once they did that, they were regarded as a French family.
Because culture matters, identity matters, monetary value and curriculum and many more exploitations ought to be ended up. Therefore, Africans should teach the new generation what happened before colonialism, his trust.
One of Ethiopia's main oppositions, Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice (EZEMA), announced the establishment of 435 constituencies for the upcoming elections. A catch-all party, EZEMA, said in a statement here today that it will field candidates in 435 of the total of 547 constituencies during the upcoming elections. Since the election may not take place in close to 100 electoral districts, including Tigray, this makes EZEMA the biggest competitor next to the ruling Prosperity Party. However, the party indicated that a sum of 140 million birr is needed to effectively complete the preparations. The party thanked members and sympathizers who have been giving a hand in this effort. EZEMA also inaugurated its newly refurbished headquarters in Addis Ababa. Now, Ethiopia has become the latest destination to be awarded the World Travel and Tourism Council WTC Safe Travel Stamp, the world's first ever global safety and hygiene stamp. The grant has come following major steps implemented by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism last year to ensure safety for residents, travelers, and workers and businesses in the tourism value chain as Ethiopia reopened its borders to international visitors, it is indicated. Hailemariam Desalegn, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and chairman of the Ethiopian Tourism Board, said, quote-unquote, "We are extremely honored to be issued the Safe Travels stamp by the WTC and commend them for this important initiative." Hirut Kassaw, Minister of Culture and Tourism, said, "Tourism is a strategic priority for the government and significantly contributes to the development of our national economy. We have created a partnership with the private sector and responded quickly on COVID-19 safety measures." The Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy disclosed the overall construction performance of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has reached over 78%. Talking to journalists here today, the Minister Seleshi Bekele said Ethiopia is comfortable with the Democratic Republic of Congo to facilitate a trilateral talks on the GERD like its South African counterpart did. The ministry pointed out that the government is always committed to undertaking the second filling of water into the main dam as scheduled. Habtamu Ashagri reports.
Despite many challenges, overall construction of the $4.6 billion Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has reached over 78%, the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy said in a statement. Briefing journalists today, Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy Seleshi Bekele said the government is always committed to undertake the second filling water as of its schedule. He added the government is undertaking proper early generation safety testing activities to early generate electric from 2 turbines.
Readiness to fill the dam? Yes, we are progressing very well according to schedule. As per the document of our 3 countries where we have consensus, we respect that. We don't change, we don't increase the amount to be filled. We keep our words, the integrity of our commitment, and continue with that. The early generation turbines question was raised. The early generation, what you said, yes, in February, March, testing, commissioning, etc. will start. Yes, these things are ongoing. We'll reach when those times come, we start testing. There are phases of dry testing, phases of wet testing, starting of connecting the system to the grid. There are so many tests. So when I say commercial operation starts in August, it is that end in the goal of connecting the electricity to the grid. Otherwise, the readiness, the early generation testing and so on will come ahead of August.
According to the minister, the civil and merchant installation workers have also reached 91% and 52% respectively. He stresses that activities are also well in progress to increase the ongoing overall construction performance of GERD into over 81% in the coming 6 months. He stresses that activities are also well in progress to increase the ongoing overall construction performance of GERD into over 81% in the coming 6 months. Other metal workers and steel structure activities are also registering remarkable progress, she remarked. Regarding the tripartite negotiation on Ethiopia's flagship project, he told journalists that Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt are equally negotiating to bring solutions to solve disputes on Abai River.
Recent time, Sudan changed its stance. No, Sudan is actually a negotiating party, one of the 3 negotiating parties. Those statements saying Sudan did this, Sudan tried to broker, no, this is not correct. They always target their interest. They may pretend that they are, mediating between Egypt and Ethiopia. It's not accurate. It is very well proven that they are actually very difficult negotiators. When we say, what is your problem in terms of dam safety, data exchange, tell us. Even our prime ministers committed that if it is an issue of data exchange, we exchange data reciprocally. If it is dam safety, the construction of GERD is the most outstanding and modern construction technology approach. So bring to us what issues Sudan may have. We sit together and find a solution for it. That is our stance. Because we don't have any intention of harming any of our neighbors.
According to Seleshi, the government expects the DRC to facilitate the platform of the trilateral negotiation to solve Abai River dispute like its South African counterpart.
In another development, Ethiopian Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy, Seleshi Bekele, reaffirmed Ethiopia's commitment to continuing to resolve disputes with lower riparian countries regarding Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam through dialogue. The minister underlined that Ethiopia never aspired to hurt its neighbors, but rather strived to benefit them. The minister made the remarks during an interview with Al Jazeera, and Emmanuel Jorge presents the story as compiled by the Ethiopian news agency.
Ethiopian Minister of Water, Irrigation and Energy Seleshi Bekele told Al Jazeera that Ethiopia's unchanging stance regarding disputes over the $4.6 billion GERD is to resolve through discussions. The minister noted that tripartite negotiations have resulted in some agreements, including technical issues. However, he said they have been very careful on issues which may affect Ethiopia's right towards developmental activities in the coming time.
There are legal issues that are explicitly or impliedly trying to foreclose Ethiopia's future development right and interest. Therefore, we have to be careful in concluding this kind of rules and guidelines.
He pointed out that Ethiopia has a standoff pre-agreement on Article 5A of the guideline for the filling of the dam.
Ethiopia suggested, and let's conclude first agreement based on the first filling up to the full level, and then continue negotiating on the difficult part, which is the operational one, which is entangled with rules that are beyond the GERD. Therefore, that is where we have, serious contention and still didn't conclude.
Elaborating on the point of disruption of the AU process, he stated that Ethiopia never blocked the AU process, but that it was insisting on the continuation of the platform. Therefore, the discussion should focus on administrative issues mentioned in Article 5, Sub-Article 2, Seleshi said.
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a single project for Ethiopia. Ethiopia has future development needs for power generation, for agricultural productivity project, for drinking water supply, for industrialization. But trying to hinder Ethiopia's future development by putting in a certain type of article that prevents, or explicitly or impliedly, Ethiopia will not agree to that.
Ethiopia is not focusing on its development only, but also on the development of the region, he disclosed, adding that when it has excess electricity, it can share to the region. Asked whether the GERD is a political project to control the Nile water, the minister emphasized that the dam is not designed and built for political purpose. The multi-billion-dollar dam was rather meant to harness the socio-economic benefits that particular infrastructure provides.
It is very near to the border with Sudan, about 20 or 40 kilometers maximum from the border. This is, in fact, a huge infrastructure that serves to transform Sudan. This is really a fake accusation, because it's not built for political purpose. It's rather to transform the life and the livelihood of 110 million people in Ethiopia, who actually contributed, each and every walk of life, contributed resource actually to build this dam.
The country has not achieved universal electricity access, and access to electricity is very low. Some 65 million people in Ethiopia are without electricity.